Ho ho ho. Straight from the North Pole, it's Santa Claus popping in with a special holiday greeting. You're listening to We Do Recover, the podcast that reminds us all that recovery is possible, resilience is powerful, and connection can warm even the frostiest winter nights. In today's episode, host Jared Miller digs into what makes the holiday season both magical and downright tricky for folks protecting their sobriety. He talks through why this time of year can stir up old patterns, especially for those early in recovery, and he offers practical, heart-centered tools to keep your footing, whether you're navigating family gatherings, dodging that spiked eggnog, or just trying to stay grounded in the midst of seasonal chaos. Jared highlights the value of building new traditions that bring joy instead of sorrow. He even shares a few personal stories from his own journey, because nobody knows better than someone who's walked the path. So grab a cozy seat by the fire, take a deep breath, and let's slay our way into today's episode.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 178. So today I wanted to come on and spread a little information, education. There's a topic I really wanted to talk about. Look around the studio for those of you that are just listening to this. It's holiday season, baby. Got the Christmas tree to my right. We got some more holiday decor, if you will, to my left. I'm rocking the ugly sweater Santa hitting the golf ball because, of course, it's got to have golf. That's my that's a new addiction in the life of Jared Miller. So, yeah, man, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're going to talk about like a little holiday help, a little staying sober through the seasons guide, if you will. So I, working in the field, for those of you that don't know, I'm a person in long-term recovery, most important. I'm also a substance abuse counselor and do some community outreach stuff. And one of the things that came up recently that really, I don't want to say shocked me, but I felt like was super important to address is the relapse rates around the holidays. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here you go. So if you are a person in long-term recovery, what does that mean? That means anybody with 12 months or more of sustained recovery, sobriety, however you want to frame it, you are at walking around at a 25% chance, normally outside of the holidays, if you will, of relapse, right? It's a disease of the brain. We're always going to be at risk once we've had that neural pathway developed in our brain for relapse. Like it's just a thing. And that goes from 25% outside of the holidays to 60% during the holidays. So more than double and more than doubles. Yeah, you got my attention, right? I got a lot of friends that are in recovery. In fact, most of my friends these days, friendship's hard, man. Does anybody out there besides me struggle with adult friendships? I feel like in 2025 in today's world, friendships are just kind of tough, right? And that's a big part of connection. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So I don't want to see my friends relapsing, right? Going from 25% to 60%. That's a scary thought. So whether you're a person in long-term recovery or the next statistic I'm going to get to is a person who's not in long-term recovery, that's somebody that has less than a year of sobriety or recovery. Oh man, their chances triple during the holidays. So it's an increase of 150% chance of increase for those with less than a year during the holidays. That is absolutely crazy. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to come on here. I'm flying solo today. For those of you that are listening to this, don't expect the introduction of my buddy Doc Sellers or a guest. It's just me, man. And we're going to be talking about the holidays and just some things that you might want to know or refresher for people in early recovery. Maybe you're in a treatment center or sober living. This is definitely, this is for you, cutie pie. This is for you. Speaking of that, for those of you listening to this that are, flirting with the idea of recovery, who are possibly still out there in active addiction, maybe some of my guests' messages of hope have gotten to you. Maybe a friend sent you a reel of some of our guests or our me in the doc giving you a message of hope, and you're curious, you're tire kicking on the recovery scene. Now is as good a time as any to get sober. I can already hear it. I can already hear people saying, well, Jared, it's the holidays. I want to spend, the holidays with my kids or with my family. And, I don't want to miss out on, and I get all that. At the same time, the best gift that you can give your loved ones, your kids, is the gift of recovery, being fully you, being fully present, bringing that frontal cortex back online. If you're ready to go from being a tire kicker to jumping in the vehicle and getting going, give my friends at Diamond Detox a call. They're a great resource. The phone number is 385-988-5332. One of the most important parts of this whole process, you're not going to make it to a treatment center or to a room to fellowship or to a counselor or to a sponsor or any of that stuff if you don't have a safe medical detox. They do it the best in the industry. I wouldn't have them on as a resource if I didn't have full confidence and full support of them. You can also check out more information about the individual rooms and private TVs, private bathrooms, all the stuff that is important to people when they're detoxing, the privacy, the professionalism at diamonddetox.com. Definitely go check out their website. I also want to acknowledge and let you guys know about a resource. Residential is typically the next step, getting that stabilization for 30 days. Check out Wasatch Crest Treatment Services. Their phone number is 385-644-1500. The power of having those who identify as male with males, those who identify as female with females, and in the same house without the co-ed scene is absolutely vital. It keeps everybody a little bit more focused. I believe in the model. Like, that's basically it. I think that is by far the best treatment model that's available today is gender specific treatment. So if you're interested to learn more, check out their website. That's wasatchcresttreatment.com. And again, both of those agencies are top shelf. Maybe that's a terrible reference to make in a in a sobriety podcast. Come on, we can have a little sense of humor. Look at me, I'm in a freaking ugly sweater outfit here. So that's that. What are the common contributors to the high levels of relapse around the holidays? Thank you for asking. That's a great question. So think about it. Increased stress. Around the holidays, there's always increased stress. Go to the grocery store. We're a few days. We're like, 72 hours outside of the big turkey day, Thanksgiving. And if you go to the store right now, it's stressful. There's a lot of people there. Sometimes you go there and you have certain ingredients that you're wanting to get and they don't have it because they're sold out, right? Just overall, from Thanksgiving to New Year's, that's what I consider the holiday season. It's just a little more busy, a little more stressful on a universal scale. Family dynamics. Oh, yeah, man. How many of you have that drunkle? That's a drunk uncle that you're gonna be trying to navigate this sobriety thing with drunkle out there at the holiday party that you got on your schedule this year. Family dynamics, or the mom that's just like, who are you dating these days? When am I gonna get grandkids? Or the siblings that are like, how's therapy going? Family dynamics are tough, man. It contributes to the recidivism. We're going to talk about some of that in the meat of this podcast. Festive events where alcohol is frequently consumed or just a norm to be there. If you're listening to this outside of the state of Utah, and even, Utah's starting to get a little bit more this way, but going to work parties where there's alcohol there, that, if you're trying to avoid that stuff and it's there and you have some kind of idea that your self-worth is tied to your social schedule or the social scene, that could be problematic. Let's see what else we got here on this list. Financial strain. Yeah, this whole idea of like if you love somebody, you got to get them this gift that they're gonna like, you know, come to tears as they unwrap. You know what I mean? Like, and how much is that going to cost you? Financial strain is definitely one. And then I would just say the mental health impact all around. What does that look like? That's depression, traumatic events, possibly that have happened around the holidays or throughout the year that now you're reflecting on during the holidays because maybe people are no longer with you. Um, yeah, man, just some of the I feel like it all, if it's, you if it's analogy wise, if it's a pimple, like it's coming to a head. That might be disturbing and disgusting, but it's coming to a head, around the end of the year. Typically it is, if it's not already something that's been there in the past. So for those of you who are in long-term recovery, who have made it through a holiday season sober, congratulations. For the most part, you probably know how to navigate some of this stuff. But it's also, for me, it was a really good refresher. I got over a decade, and it was a good refresher putting this thing together. Very similar to psychoeducation groups that I do in groups or working with individuals on an individual level, going over some of this stuff to stay safe and sober through the holidays. Let's talk about somebody who has no or low social schedule. This is the individual who, I don't know, that maybe you moved to a new area and you do have some sobriety time, but you're in a new location where because of finances, you're not visiting family for the holidays. Maybe this is a person in super early recovery who this is going to be their first attempt at getting through the holidays safe and sober. For those of you that have no or a low social schedule, first of all, it's okay. Like, it's okay to be alone through the holidays. Nobody should be alone, right? But if you're alone or you don't have a ton of stuff going on, that's okay. If you're open to it, the rooms, they're always an option. Fellowshipping with individuals in Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Smart Recovery, Dharma, those are really good options for you to not be alone during the holiday season. If you're open to that, that's a great resource. However, I do want to have this, I want to make sure that you're understanding. I'm saying it really is okay if you don't have a ton of stuff going on through the holidays. That has nothing to do, it's not tied to your self-worth as a human being and individual. Some of the things that you could do is find passion projects, such as a book series or putting a puzzle together or finding, a TV show series that you're really passionate about. For me, I remember very vividly spending a holiday season alone in early recovery, and like I caught up on a lot of 30 for 30 sports TV show series. I don't know if I'm getting that right, but you understand what I'm saying. Like sports is a big thing for me, hence the hat, golf nerd. And so I can remember diving in when I didn't have a lot of social interaction to passing the time, staying safe and staying sober by finding a good TV show series. Other ideas, favorite movies. That's a great way to and as I hear myself talking, the important thing is, listen, when you have time that's unscheduled, right? That's usually when cravings start to creep up on us. Stinking thinking starts to happen, starts to come into play. When we just have, idle time is the devil's playground, is essentially what I'm saying. So if you have no or a low schedule this holiday season, that's okay. Let's game plan together in this moment. I'm going to pretend that you're here with me. What can we do to stay busy have some structured time to get through the holidays safe and sober, because that's really what it's about. Service work is a great one. Listen, service work is soup for the soul. It is a direct spiritual connection. That's a great option. Essentially, I'm saying it's okay to have a low-key holiday season. Like, that's okay. The important thing is that you stay safe, stay sober. If this year's a bust, if this year just for whatever reason is not your year, you're in a new place, you're unable to travel to be with family, you don't get a lot of friend invites, things like that, that's okay. Let's set goals so that next year we have the opportunity to have a more connected, more social holiday season. Again, if this year's a bust, let's find some ways to be constructive and not just sit around and have the woes and feel sorry for ourselves and start thinking that drown in our loneliness and our inadequacy feelings with alcohol is a good option. So the biggest thing I want to drive home here is your lack of social connection is not a direct reflection on your self-worth. Man, have yourself a Merry Christmas. Find a way to have yourself a safe and sober Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all the above.
The team at Diamond Detox is compassionate, helpful, and trained to support every step of the healing journey. Your loved one's path to a healthier, happier life starts with a free and easy 20 to 30-minute assessment over the phone or a few questions submitted online on the Diamond Detox website. Assessments and admissions occur 7 days a week, depending on availability. To begin the path to recovery, visit diamonddetox.com or call 385-988-5332.
Okay, our next section is going to be those individuals who have a moderate to high social schedule. Yes, I would, that's good. All the time we talk about connection is the opposite of addiction, which is great. And at the same time, the holidays can be complicated. It can be a tough time of the year for certain people. So let's talk about how to navigate a moderate to high social schedule throughout the holidays. Proactive planning. What do I mean by that? Planning ahead for the social events that you have coming up in your life. So if that's a family event and, some of your family members consume alcohol or mind-altering substances, plan ahead for that. Don't be caught off guard. I would highly recommend, bring some club soda or, Diet Mountain Dew. That would be my choice, or I'd be rocking some Diet Mountain Dew. Have to be careful how much caffeine I consume. I'm a big fan of the Perrier waters, as you can see, as evidenced by this bottle I'm holding here. And I would say, plan ahead, bring your own beverage. That's a really good way of avoiding somebody handing you an alcoholic beverage altogether. If you're going out to, let's say, an employment get together, I don't know, a social, right? You're going out at a social where there's going to be a full bar access. For me, the go-to is always a club soda with lime. It doesn't have to be that for you, but I feel like a club soda with lime is, I just go up and order the club soda with lime, and I don't even make it a thing. A lot of times, when we're doing this sobriety and recovery thing, we tend to make it really bigger than we need to. Like, in other words, don't stress yourself sick on what it's going to look like. Plan ahead. Know what is it that you're going to order, or if it's a place where you're going and gathering, bring your own beverage. That's a really good way of navigating the holidays to stay safe and sober. Another really great idea is to bring some sober companionship with you. If it's whether it's a work party or whether it's a family party, invite somebody an accountability partner, a sponsor, somebody from your fellowship, somebody who understands that you are working on your sobriety, respects your goal to do that, and is going to help hold you accountable to yourself, number one, but also navigate the social situations, number two. Have a wingman or a wingwoman. Yeah, that's a really great idea. I highly recommend that. Plus, people love getting out and being social during the holidays. And so think about it. Maybe somebody that you know has a no to low social schedule that you can invite to go along to the work party, the family get together, whatever that looks like, that's going to benefit the both of you. Strength in numbers, baby. Strength in numbers. Okay. Setting boundaries. The B word, the big B word. Boundaries. Boundaries are they're not for the other person. Boundaries are for you. Be confident with your boundaries. In other words, we can't control what other people do, but we can control how we react. So in the event, which is from my experience, a highly unlikely event, if somebody offered you an alcoholic beverage and you said, no, thank you, period, which, just so you know, is a complete sentence. That's all you need. No, thank you. That's it. And they continued to push and continued to push. Walk away. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to go into, well, I'm in recovery and I'm doing this and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, a boundary is if people don't respect your choice to not drink or not smoke or whatever the mind-altering substance is, be confident and have enough self-love to walk away from that situation. And that's your boundary, right? If somebody doesn't respect your decision, you're just going to exit, you're going to leave, you're going to walk away to talk to somebody else, whatever that boundary, that personal boundary looks like for you. And it doesn't even have to be about substances. It doesn't. Remember that drunk uncle we talked about, the drunk uncle? Boundaries with him. Remember how we talked about the siblings or family members who are maybe asking questions that make you feel uncomfortable, that really spikes your stress level? Boundaries. You know what? I really don't want to talk about that. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Can we talk about something else? The boundary. If they continue to push, hey, I don't think you understand. That's really not something that I want to talk about. If you continue to bring it up, I'm just going to leave. Boom. Boundary, right? You guys get the idea. Just I would say the biggest thing with boundaries is just be confident. Too many times, if people can tell that you're wavering, or if it's like a soft no, like, well, I don't. Well, of course they're going to encourage more. You're being soft. Be confident. Be bold. Okay. Safety net to be on standby. Let me explain. Maybe you have a sponsor. Maybe it's a brother, a sister, supportive individual that wants the best for you that you could talk to ahead of time and just let them know, hey, if I text you 911 or if I text you a frowny face emoji or whatever, come up with some kind of code. This could be cool. Make it fun. Will you call me and already have a prearranged excuse for you to exit that situation? Beautiful. Highly recommend it. Whether that's for your sobriety, whether that's for your mental health, whatever it is, have a prearranged go-to safety net where somebody you can notify, they can call. It's a perfect excuse for you to leave. Again, have it prearranged ahead of time. So it's just like, oh, got a phone call, got to go. Boom, you're out the door. You're out of that unsafe situation. Okay, I'm going to get a little clinical here for a minute. For those of you, that clinical Jared's coming out. Most of the time, I just try to be Jared during these podcasts. Clinical Jared's going to come out for a second. We're going to talk about HALT. Yes, it is a therapeutic term. It's an acronym. My HALT has 2 H's. I'll explain. Normal HALT has 1 H. So that's hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Just be aware of HALT. I add horny because listen, in 2025, if you're a single person and you're planning on going out to do social activities during the holidays, be aware of your hormones and where you're at, because the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a situation where you wake up the next day and go, what did I just do? And with who? And now I got to get tested. And you understand what I'm saying, right? You might be laughing at this, but trust me, I've worked in residentials. I've been doing this long enough to know that the number one coping skill outside of using drugs or alcohol is sexual intimacy. Hands down. Why? Because it releases massive amounts of dopamine in the brain. It is one of the things that spikes our dopamine more than anything. That's why I'm a big believer in the gender specific treatments for residential settings. Because typically when we get sober, our brain goes, we want dopamine. And there's one of two things. There's only several things that's going to give us that big rush of dopamine. So now that you're done laughing, you understand that from a clinical standpoint, I want to make sure that people are being mindful and aware that if you go to a social situation and frankly, you're just super thirsty, you know what I'm saying? You're looking to get an itch scratched. You may make unsafe choices, which could lead you to jeopardize your sobriety, your mental and emotional health. So be aware of your hormones. Be aware of hunger. Why does that play a factor into it? Well, if you're hangry, you could have a short fuse. If you have a short fuse and somebody like Drunkle or somebody a coworker brings up one of those topics that spikes your stress level, yeah, man, that could have a negative outcome to it. And of course, then our brain goes, well, we know how to chill out, right? Alcohol is a great choice, or marijuana or heroin or whatever. So it's a thing. Angry. That's pretty obvious. If you are on your way to a social event and you stop to get, I don't know, 6-pack of seltzer or 12-pack of Coke Zeros or whatever, Coca-Cola, and you are just pissed off at everybody in the store before you even get to the party or the social event, you might just want to say, I'm just going home. I'm going to go home. I'm going to put on that 30 for 30 that I've been wanting to catch up on. And Jared gave me permission to just have a low key, safe, and sober holiday. Lonely. Yeah, lonely. Listen, the loneliness thing, here's how oftentimes this is how it happens for me. And I can personally share examples. If you're going to a social setting and you've been lonely, you've lacked social connection, good for you for getting out into a social setting. However, oftentimes we crave that connection and we crave that conversation so much that we can overshare. If you've been invited to a work party and you've been lonely and you've been working on your sobriety and a coworker comes up to you, this could happen very easily, offers you a drink. You say, no, thank you. They say, how come? Or whatever. You go off on this 30-minute explanation of, you got X amount of time sober and, that you've in the past you've gotten DUIs and, just talking about the mess. If that's a confidential coworker, you might be okay. But listen, if it's not, you very easily could overshare. Wake up the next day, not with a legit hangover, but with a vulnerability hangover. And then maybe now you feel uncomfortable going back to work. So it's a thing. Just be aware. Be mindful when you're getting out and in these conversations of how well do you know this individual. Not everybody respects anonymity in the world. And so what you're sharing that you think is confidential and private might not be, or maybe you're not even thinking about it, when the conversation unfolds. I have definitely definitely overshared in the past in situations where I have regretted it and it has had a negative outcome on my mental health. So just be aware of that. Last one, tired. We're going through the halt thing if you've already zoned out by now. We're finishing on tired. Yeah, if you get home from work, you got a family party and you're like falling asleep on the couch before you can even crawl into the shower to get yourself ready to go, probably just better not to go. Get yourself centered, get some rest. Any one of those, being overly horny, being hungry, being angry, being lonely, being tired, puts you at a higher risk for relapse, frankly, and negative mental health outcomes. I want to reemphasize, and I think it's important to restate that social stress oftentimes is mostly between our ears. In other words, individuals who are healthy, like when it comes to our sobriety, right? Individuals who are healthy human beings will absolutely respect your choice not to partake. Whether that's with alcohol, marijuana, they will. So again, if you're getting into a moderate to high social schedule and a big anxiety, you got a pit in your stomach because you're like, how am I going to navigate it? Well, first of all, I'm glad that you stumbled onto this podcast here. Secondly, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. People will respect your decision to stay sober. Don't make yourself sick over the idea of getting out and being social for the holidays. Again, for people who fall into this category, I want you to realize your social connections do not determine your self-worth. So it's the same thing as those who don't have a ton of social connections. Like, just if you choose to sit out a social event because any one of the reasons we've talked about, to keep yourself safe and keep yourself sober, that is absolutely okay. It doesn't, not showing up to a holiday party does not determine your self-worth. Being seen with a certain crowd of people absolutely does not determine how much value you have as a human being. Just remember that when it comes to the social settings during the holiday season.
Hi, my name's Jim Huffman. I'm the founder and CEO of Wasatch Crest Treatment Services. We're located in Heber City, Utah, amongst the beautiful Wasatch Mountains. We offer a full continuum of care, and what that means is that, we can support our clients and their families from day one all the way through their entire recovery journey. Our goal here at Wasatch Crest is for this to be your last time in treatment and the beginning of a life in recovery that will bring you joy and fulfillment and a sense of healing to you and your family and to those who love you.
To learn more about Wasatch Crest, call me, Jared, directly at 385-644-1500 and check out the website at wasatchcresttreatment.com. Okay. Next category I want to talk about here. Working as a counselor for a number of years, I always come across clients, and personally myself, I can relate to this, that have a negative association with the holidays. It's a thing. I've literally had a client tell me from September to January, I've had so much loss and I have so much historical baggage that I just want to bury my head underneath my covers and come out, hibernate for the holiday season and just start again in the new year. So it's a thing. We're talking about maybe past holiday traumas. Maybe the trauma has nothing to do with the holiday. It's like the loss of people around holidays, or again, maybe the loss of somebody and you're just really feeling it around the holidays. That can lead to depression. If you never truly grieve somebody, And the holidays is a big reminder for you. Yeah, you're going to struggle, right? That neural pathway has developed. I get it. And it's normal. I get it. And it's normal. Also, the holidays can be tough and people have a negative association with the holidays because of comparison. You know, you get together with your family and maybe you've had some struggles with sobriety or mental health. And so you look around and you see from an external standpoint that your siblings, from your point of view, are doing quote unquote better than you are. Or, you know, going to a work party and seeing people who got promoted over you or whatever the situation is. Like, it's important to acknowledge that the holidays can be a tough time of the year. I want you to know that it's important for you to feel your feelings. I'll say it again. It's important for you to feel your feelings, but do not become victim to your feelings. What does that look like? I'll share a personal example. Due to my addiction, I'm not an active participant in my son and daughter's life today. And the holidays is one of those time of the year where I get together with family and I see my brothers and sisters or brother and sister-in-laws with their kids. And it makes me think of my kids. And, you know, I can thought spiral from there real fast. You know, what is it that they want this year for Christmas? What's the fun thing? You know, I can remember the last Christmas I spent with my daughter, unicorns were a big thing, you know, and I can remember getting her a little unicorn that is going to sound gross, but kind of pooped out like little Play-Doh. My son absolutely loved Legos. Like this kid could put together Legos that were for adults when he was a kid, right? And it's tough. The holidays can absolutely be tough when you don't have those loved ones in your life. You know, oftentimes I think about my brother that I lost to an overdose and I miss the heck out of him. He used to dress up as Santa Claus and come over early in the mornings and wake everybody up and get everybody out of bed, and he was like the dude. You know, he was the guy that like brought the holiday season. You know, growing up every year we would do a fort in our house, and what does that mean? That means we would designate one bedroom and we would hang sheets with thumbtacks. I'm sure my parents loved that. And we would build this fort that all of us kids, you know, slept in. And he was quite a bit older than me, and he would come over and you know, to my parents' house, to us younger siblings, and he would help us build this fort. And then several holidays before he started a family of his own, he would come over and he would share, you know, Christmas stories with us, and or sit and read a Christmas book with us. And he just, man, he was like, I'm telling you, man, he was like Chris Farley. Like, he was just so funny and fun. And man, I miss that, man. Miss him a lot, you know? My dad. Every year, growing up around the holidays, a lot of memories, guys, a lot of memories. Just hang here with me, getting a little vulnerable. My dad would dress up as Santa Claus and go do Santa at all the malls by where we lived. Yeah. My dad was the Santa that some of you listening to this probably grew up sitting on his lap telling him what you wanted for Christmas. You know, and that's how he'd provide for us around Christmas time. Like, that's how he could afford Christmas presents. Just blue collar dude. So yeah, the holidays can be tough, as evidenced by the memory recall. And and some of the stuff that I just shared. But the beautiful thing is we have the ability to create new memories, you know? And we have the ability to choose whether those memories are going to bring us joy or sorrow. Sometimes it can be both. And for me it is both. I'm lucky that I had the opportunity to have two beautiful, healthy kids. And when I start to miss them like crazy, I can think and be grateful that they have, as far as I know, a safe home, loving people in their life, health, and I can find a way in my heart to be happy for them, as hard and as painful as that is for me. With my brother, I can be grateful that I had an older brother who was just amazing. Not everybody has siblings. Some people go through life without knowing what that's like. And so I'm blessed, and I feel joy when I think of my brother. My dad. That man was one of the hardest working men I know. And again, a lot of beautiful memories that frankly not everybody has a dad like the dad that I had. So, you can challenge the narrative with enough mindfulness. You can find the positive or the silver lining even in sensitive or vulnerable memories that are associated with the holidays. Today I'm lucky. Sobriety, the promises of recovery and sobriety have been good to me. I about 11 years this past summer, July 3rd, I hit 11, and since that time, I've gotten remarried, have a beautiful wife. I'm telling you, the most intelligent, talented human being that I know said yes when I asked her to marry me, which is crazy. I just found out today that she was accepted into the University of Utah physician assistant program, and she'd already previously been accepted into the Utah Valley University physician assistant program. Just wicked smart. And I choose to focus on that. I choose to focus on the here and the now and create beautiful memories together. The other night we went to the Jubilee of Trees, which is a thing that she's apparently done in the past, and it's something that she brings her joy. And it was fun, man. It was really fun. And we talked about having that be a new tradition of ours moving forward. Frankly, we're newly married, less than 5 years. So we're in the process of, and personally, I'm in the process of practicing exactly what I'm preaching, of acknowledging the past, finding the silver lining in it, and developing new neural pathways to be able to experience joy, build a future that I can look forward to, and keep my recovery strong. I encourage you, if this time of the year is a really challenging time of the year for you, to seek out joy, seek out happiness. I don't know what that looks like for you in your life. I know in early recovery, when I didn't have a ton of social scheduling, if you will, I did some service work. man, going and volunteering to feed people at a homeless shelter. That's spiritual. That is as spiritually uplifting as anything I've ever experienced in my life. A few years ago, it was probably like 2018. I got the opportunity to, where I struggled downtown Salt Lake City, by Rio Grande is where typically, they call it the block, right? It's where like homeless and drugs of all dealing happen. I think it was 2017 or 2018. I got the opportunity to hand out blankets and hot cocoa and just spread some Christmas spirit. And that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. Spiritually, being able to go back to a certain place that, and again, I did it smart. I did it with support. I did it with people who are in recovery and would hold me accountable. I just didn't do it by myself. It was an organization I went with, and we handed out, hot cocoa and these blankets and just spread some love and some cheer for the holidays for the people who are less fortunate. And yeah, like I can't even describe it was a spiritual experience. So I encourage you to seek out things that are going to bring you joy, to develop new neural pathways. Again, this is people that have a negative association with the holiday. Find a way to build new neural pathways around the holidays. I appreciate you guys being on the roller coaster ride with me from, my high energy to the vulnerability that I shared, and hopefully it touches, one person. The whole reason I do this podcast is just the hope that my message, my experience, strength, and hope can be carried on to somebody that needs to hear it. With that being said, please share this with a friend, share this with a family member. If you're listening to this, most likely you know somebody who's been affected. You probably have been affected yourself. Let's just help remind each other that the holidays can be a difficult time for some people. Let's help remind each other that adult friending can be a struggle. Connection and social scheduling can be a struggle. Let's do our best to reach out to people who maybe we haven't talked to in a while and just check in on them, see how they're doing throughout the holiday season. That could be service work in and of itself. I guess that wraps up episode 178. That's pretty much everything I got on my mind. Let you guys know that I love you. I might not even know you. I want to get to know you. I want to connect with you. I want to share your victories. I want to support you in your struggles. So reach out and let's all have a safe and sober holiday.
We hope this has been thought-provoking and helpful. We would love to engage with you on our social media platforms. Search We Do Recover with Jared Miller, and let's connect. Thank you for listening.